Have you ever been in a situation where your gut told you to run, but your heart begged you to stay? Picture this. You're sitting alone in a dusty little diner after your shift ends, worn out, sipping lukewarm coffee, wondering how your life turned into this loop of bills, tired eyes, and silent prayers. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, someone too perfect to be real walks in. He's dressed sharp, speaks smooth, and stares at you like you're the only person that matters in this entire world. Your first instinct? He's a scammer. Obviously. Guys like that don't look twice at girls like us, right? Now before we dive deeper, let me tell you something. If you're here because the title made you raise an eyebrow, you're exactly where you need to be. And I promise you this, by the end of this video, you're going to have the full story, raw, real, and maybe a little shocking. You won't leave this video with questions. You'll leave it feeling something. That's my promise to you. So lean in, stay with me till the very last word. Because the ending? It's not what you think. This isn't just another poor girl meets rich guy fairytale. This is a story about trust, about judgment, and about what happens when the walls you build to protect yourself start keeping out the very thing your heart's been waiting for. It's about you, actually, because if you've ever been lied to, used, or just plain overlooked, this story is going to hit home harder than you think. I want you to feel like you're sitting right here next to me while we unfold this moment by moment. And if you've ever made a snap judgment that you later regretted, or maybe you're still holding back from someone right now, then this story is your mirror. You'll see what I mean. Let's set the stage. Her name was Emily. 24. Waitressing to survive. She lived in a quiet town just outside of Nashville, where dreams come to die slowly under the weight of rent, second jobs, and student debt. Emily wasn't looking for love. In fact, she barely believed in it anymore. After a string of toxic relationships and ghosted texts, her heart was guarded like Fort Knox. She was tired of pretending she didn't care when guys stopped replying, tired of hoping someone would prove her wrong, tired of trying to look okay when inside she was breaking apart. Sound familiar? Her daily life was a routine painted in dull gray. Wake up. Catch the early bus. Serve coffee and eggs to half-awake strangers. Deal with the creepy regular who left crumpled dollar bills as tips. Go home. Eat leftovers. Scroll Instagram and watch other people live her dreams. Repeat. She wasn't bitter. Just numb. Life hadn't given her a reason to believe in magic. That is, until he walked in. Enter Ryan. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people mess up. When Emily first saw Ryan, she didn't see a man. She saw a walking red flag. Designer watch. Custom shoes. A car parked outside that probably cost more than her entire college tuition. And yet, he wasn't arrogant. He wasn't showy. He just sat down like any other customer and ordered pancakes, eggs, and extra syrup. The same thing every morning for a week. And every morning, he smiled at Emily like he knew her, like he really saw her. Not just her face, not just her body, but the soul she kept buried beneath layers of hurt and sarcasm. Let's pause for a second. Because I know what some of you are thinking, he was probably a player, or worse, a scammer. I mean, rich guy hanging around a small diner in a quiet town, casually chatting up a waitress? Come on. And you'd be right to think that. In fact, that's exactly what Emily thought too. She even warned her co-workers. He's either married, a liar, or both, she'd whisper behind the counter. But here's the twist, you're about to find out the truth behind Ryan. And trust me, the truth is deeper than anyone expected. This video isn't just about a girl falling in love. It's about what makes us fall for someone, and how easy it is to push the right person away just because we're too scared to believe they might be real. Have you ever done that? Kept someone at a distance just to avoid getting hurt? Emily did. And she almost missed the best thing that ever happened to her. Now I want you to think about something while this story unfolds, because this part is important. What if the love of your life is already in your orbit, and you're too guarded to notice? What if they've already tried to reach you, and you brush them off thinking they were just another scam? This story is going to challenge the way you look at people. It's going to make you think twice about the masks people wear and the secrets they carry. Because Ryan? Oh, he was hiding something. Something big. And no one, not Emily, not her friends, not even you watching right now, would have guessed what it was. Here's another truth. Most of us judge others within seconds. We've been conditioned by social media, movies, heartbreaks. We think we know people before we've even heard their voices. But sometimes, that judgment keeps us from the very thing we need the most. Emily judged Ryan. She misread him.
And that almost cost her everything. Almost.
Throughout this story, you're going to witness how a single misunderstanding can snowball into something much bigger, how assumptions can wreck potential, and how healing begins the moment we let go of fear. But don't worry, I won't give it all away right now. Because you need to feel this journey the same way Emily did, confused, cautious, and slowly, deeply surprised.
So I'm going to ask you right now, stick with me. Don't skip.
Don't jump to the end. Let this play out, scene by scene, the way it was meant to. Because every second of this video holds a clue. And by the end, you're going to understand why Emily had every reason to think Ryan was lying, and why, despite all the red flags, he was the only one telling her the truth.
This isn't just a plot twist. It's the twist.
So here's your official invitation to settle in, forget the rest of the world for a bit, and walk with me through a story that might just change the way you see people.
It's about more than love. It's about recognition.
And sometimes, the person who sees you best is the one you tried the hardest to ignore. Now, just when Emily was starting to trust Ryan, just when the walls were beginning to crack and she was letting herself feel again, something happened.
One small moment that changed everything. One text. One photograph. One lie. Or maybe it wasn't a lie at all.
Maybe it was the truth she just wasn't ready to see.
And that's where we begin.
That text message, it lit up Emily's phone like a warning flare. It came from an unknown number, short and cryptic. Be careful who you trust. He's not who you think he is.
Her heart skipped a beat. She stared at it like it was a trap, like touching it might somehow detonate her entire world.
Up until that moment, Ryan had seemed too good to be true. Charming but not in a cheesy way, generous but not flashy, curious about her life in a way that felt real, not performative. He asked questions no one ever asked, about her dreams, her childhood, her favorite book as a kid. It was like he was peeling back her layers slowly, not to expose her, but to understand her. And now this message, this anonymous warning, threatened to shatter the fragile trust she'd barely begun to build. Emily didn't say anything to Ryan right away.
That's how guarded she still was.
She tucked the phone into her apron, forced a smile, and brought over his usual breakfast order.
But her hands trembled slightly as she poured the syrup.
She couldn't help it. Every word he said after that felt like it carried a hidden meaning. When he laughed, was it real? When he complimented her, was he saying the same thing to someone else? And when he said, "You're different, Emily. That's what I like about you," did he mean it, or was he playing some long game she didn't understand yet? The days that followed became a blur of second-guessing. Emily found herself scrolling through social media, searching for his name, his photo, anything that would confirm who he really was.
But there was nothing.
No LinkedIn, no Facebook, no Instagram, not even a tagged photo on a local business page. In today's world, that was practically unheard of.
People didn't just not exist online. Who was this guy? How did he have money?
What was he doing in a sleepy town where most people's idea of going out meant Taco Tuesday and karaoke night?
And more importantly, what did he want with her? What Emily didn't know was that Ryan wasn't just passing through town. He was there for a reason, one he wasn't ready to share yet. But he noticed the shift in her. Her smiles felt a little more forced. Her body language was closed off.
And the deep eye contact they used to share over pancakes and eggs?
Gone. He couldn't blame her. He'd lived most of his life behind a mask, one made of polished charm and quiet detachment. But with Emily, he was starting to let that mask slip. He was starting to feel something real, and that terrified him more than he could admit. Meanwhile, Emily's best friend Jasmine, an outspoken bartender with zero filter and a sharp instinct for BS, wasn't buying Ryan's act either. She'd never liked him. From the start, she'd said he was hiding something. Nobody's that polished without a motive, she warned.
Guys like that don't just show up out of nowhere unless they are running from something or hunting for something. Jasmine had seen her fair share of scammers, smooth talkers, and emotional manipulators. And something about Ryan triggered all her alarms. She even began digging into his license plate, snapping a photo one night after he parked outside the diner. She had connections, and if there was dirt to find, Jasmine was going to find it.
At the same time, something else was happening.
Emily started getting little signs, strange coincidences that didn't feel so random. A bouquet of her favorite flowers, peonies, showed up at her apartment with no note. A coffee left on her doorstep with the exact way she liked it, oat milk, 2 pumps vanilla, extra foam. And once, while walking home late, she swore she saw a dark car idling at the corner before driving off the second she turned her head.
She couldn't tell if she was being paranoid or watched. Was Ryan behind it? Or was someone else playing a dangerous game? Then came the dream, vivid, unsettling.
In it, Emily was standing in front of a massive house, the kind you see in luxury real estate videos with millions of views, all white columns and floor-to-ceiling glass. Inside, there were mirrors instead of walls, and every reflection was a different version of herself, some happy, some broken, one screaming silently as Ryan reached out with a bouquet of peonies. She woke up drenched in sweat, heart pounding like it was trying to warn her of something her conscious mind couldn't quite grasp.
It felt like more than a dream. It felt like a message.
What she didn't know was that Ryan had secrets not even he was proud of.
His money?
It didn't come from a tech startup or family inheritance like everyone assumed. It came from something messier, something people paid not to talk about. He hadn't lied to Emily exactly, he just hadn't told her the truth.
Not yet.
Because the moment he did, he knew he'd lose her. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't want to lose anyone. Not her.
She was the only person who made him feel like more than a transaction.
As tension built, another thread quietly entered the picture. A man in a grey hoodie had started showing up at the diner every few days, always sitting at the back, never ordering much, just coffee, black, no sugar. He didn't speak, didn't tip, didn't smile.
And he always left right after Ryan.
Emily noticed, and it made her skin crawl.
She mentioned it to Jasmine, who started watching him closely.
But when Jasmine tried to follow him one night, he disappeared down a side alley, as if he knew the town better than they did.
Who was he? And why was he watching Ryan?
Emily's mom, who she hadn't seen in months, also suddenly called out of the blue. Her voice was shaky, her words hesitant. She said someone had come by asking questions about Emily, someone businesslike, with a calm voice and an expensive coat. Emily brushed it off as coincidence, but deep down, something about it gnawed at her. Why would anyone be digging into her past? She had no enemies, no criminal record, no scandalous secrets, unless, somehow, she was being used as a pawn in someone else's. And just when Emily thought it couldn't get more confusing, she found an old newspaper clipping tucked into her mailbox. It was from 5 years ago, yellowed and crinkled. The headline read, "Local heiress found dead after mysterious disappearance, foul play suspected." On the back of the clipping, someone had written in sharp ink, "He was there that night."
No name. No explanation. Just that chilling sentence.
Now the threads were tangling faster than she could unravel them.
Who was the man in the hoodie?
Why was her past suddenly under scrutiny?
Why did Ryan have no digital footprint?
And what exactly had he been running from, or running toward, when he walked into that diner weeks ago? Emily started to feel like she was living in someone else's story, caught in a plot with twists she hadn't agreed to. Every smile, every compliment, every silent glance from Ryan now felt like it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths.
And yet, she couldn't walk away.
Because no matter how loud the warning bells rang, a small, stubborn part of her still believed that he was different.
That this could be something real. That maybe, just maybe, she wasn't wrong about him. But she had no idea what was coming next.
None of them did. Because the night everything came crashing down started like any other, quiet, routine, forgettable. Emily had just finished her shift, the diner was closing, and Ryan had offered to walk her home.
She hesitated, said she was tired. He insisted gently.
And as they stepped into the cool night air, neither of them saw the shadow step out from the alley behind them. Neither of them heard the soft click of a phone camera. And neither of them knew that the next 24 hours would flip everything they thought they knew, about each other, about trust, about love, upside down. The night air felt unusually thick, like it was holding its breath, waiting. Emily's footsteps echoed faintly against the cracked sidewalk as she walked beside Ryan in tense silence. They didn't speak much, but their thoughts were screaming. Ryan's hand brushed against hers, almost like he wanted to reach out but didn't know if he had the right anymore. Emily's mind was a carousel of questions, each one spinning faster than the last. The anonymous warning text, the bouquet with no note, the newspaper clipping with that chilling message, it was all building into something she couldn't quite name, but it didn't feel like coincidence. And yet, she couldn't pull herself away from Ryan. Something in him felt real, even as everything around him screamed otherwise. Just when she thought her life couldn't get any stranger, that night handed her the twist that changed everything. As they turned onto her street, the world seemed to pause. A car was idling a few houses down, headlights off, engine humming low. Emily slowed, instincts flaring. Ryan noticed it too. "You know that car?" he asked, his tone light but his eyes sharp.
Emily shook her head. That's when it happened.
From the shadows stepped the man in the hoodie, the same one from the diner.
But now, he wasn't just a passive observer.
He was walking directly toward them, not rushed, not hesitant, like he'd done it before. Ryan's body shifted subtly in front of Emily, shielding her without making it obvious. "Stay behind me," he said quietly, but with a tone that made her stomach drop. The man stopped a few feet away, his face still shadowed.
"We need to talk," he said, his voice low and flat.
Ryan didn't move.
"Not here," he replied. The man ignored him and looked at Emily instead.
"You think you know who he is," he said, with a strange mix of pity and anger in his eyes. "Ask him about Bella." And just like that, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the dark like he'd never been there.
Emily's breath caught. Bella.
The name meant nothing to her, but the look on Ryan's face said everything. He had turned pale, his jaw tight, his eyes haunted. "Let's go inside," he said quickly, his voice unusually soft. But she didn't move.
"Who's Bella?" she asked.
And he just stared at her, silent, like he was calculating how much truth she could handle. The next few days unraveled like a thread pulled too tight. Emily tried to focus on work, on normalcy, but nothing felt normal anymore. Jasmine had gone full detective, now convinced that Ryan was connected to something much darker than a few white lies. She traced the license plate he drove, registered under a shell company based out of Florida.
No personal name.
No online paper trail. Just a series of vague business ties that looped back to a holding firm linked to a closed case in Los Angeles. The case? A financial fraud scandal tied to a now-defunct luxury brand, and a woman named Bella Owens, who vanished shortly after testifying against one of the brand's owners.
The twist?
Bella had been Ryan's ex-fiancée.
Emily confronted him that night.
"Tell me the truth," she said, holding up her phone, showing him the news article Jasmine had found.
Who was she?
What happened to her? Ryan didn't flinch. He sat down, ran a hand through his hair, and finally began to talk. He told her about Bella, how they'd met in LA during his early career days, how they'd fallen hard and fast, how she was beautiful, smart, and had secrets of her own. What started as love had slowly turned into something darker: power plays, money games, and manipulation. Bella had gotten involved with people who operated in luxury real estate scams, high-ticket listings that didn't exist, fake auctions, investor fraud. Ryan claimed he had no idea at first, that she kept it from him. But by the time he realized, he was already tied to it financially. When she disappeared, he was left behind to clean up the damage and live with the fallout.
"I didn't kill her," he said quietly. "But I did lose her.
And I lost a part of myself too." Emily didn't know what to believe. His eyes were glassy, his voice steady, but it was the kind of story that could be true or perfectly rehearsed. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But most of all, she wanted to know, if he was telling the truth, why did he come here?
Why her?
And that's when he dropped another bomb. "Bella had a sister," he said.
"I think she's the one who sent that text."
"The one watching us." Emily blinked, confused. "Why would she come after me?"
Ryan looked her dead in the eyes.
"Because she thinks I moved on too fast. And because you remind her of Bella." Suddenly, everything felt different. The flowers, the coffee, the car idling at night. Was this really about Ryan? Or was someone else trying to manipulate Emily into thinking it was? Were they being watched or followed?
Was someone trying to destroy what little trust they'd managed to build?
The twist wasn't that Ryan had secrets, it was that someone else wanted those secrets to come out in the worst possible way.
Someone with an agenda. Someone with a score to settle.
And that someone might be closer than either of them realized. Meanwhile, Jasmine had taken things a step further. She'd contacted someone from Bella's old circle, a former assistant who now ran a small design blog and occasionally posted #storytime videos on YouTube. The woman agreed to talk off record and revealed that Bella had been obsessed with surveillance, recording everything, from phone calls to private conversations, as insurance in case anything ever went wrong. And rumor was, she'd hidden a flash drive filled with sensitive files, bank transfers, names, voice recordings, all somewhere unexpected. Something she once referred to as her last grenade.
No one had ever found it.
But Jasmine was starting to wonder, what if Bella had left it behind in this town? What if Ryan wasn't here for Emily at all, but for that? The story was no longer just about a poor girl falling for a mysterious rich guy. It was about how much damage trust issues could cause, how trauma echoed long after the wound was inflicted, and how love could survive only if it was rooted in brutal, unfiltered honesty. Emily didn't know what to think. She wanted to believe that what they were building was real. But she could feel herself slowly spiraling, caught between her feelings and her fears, her past and her future. Then came the biggest shock yet. One evening, while sorting through her old family boxes in the attic, just trying to feel grounded, Emily found a photograph she didn't recognize. It was of her father, younger, smiling, standing next to a woman she vaguely remembered from childhood. The caption on the back was written in delicate handwriting. Bella, summer before everything changed.
Emily's blood ran cold. Why was her father in a photo with Bella? How did they know each other? And why had no one ever mentioned it?
The moment she turned that photo over, everything shifted.
Because now it wasn't just about Ryan's past. It was about hers.
And suddenly, she realized something horrifying. She hadn't been pulled into Ryan's story. Maybe he'd been pulled into hers. Emily sat in stunned silence, the photo trembling in her hands like it held the final piece of a puzzle she never even knew she was solving. Her father, standing next to Bella, smiling, relaxed, like they were old friends.
But how? She couldn't recall her dad ever mentioning a Bella.
He had passed away years ago, and suddenly, that loss took on a different weight. Questions she'd long buried started to resurface with sharp edges.
Who was her father? Really?
Had he known about Bella's past, her disappearance, her connection to Ryan? And most terrifying of all, had her family been part of something darker, something tied to the same secrets now threatening to rip her life apart? Emily didn't wait. She grabbed the photo, shoved it in her coat pocket, and ran straight to Jasmine's apartment. Jasmine was mid-research, surrounded by notes and tabs open on luxury scam exposés, true crime podcasts, and conspiracy Reddit threads. When Emily showed her the photo, Jasmine stared at it for a long time before slowly whispering, Your dad used to work in real estate, right?
Emily nodded.
Mostly commercial, some land development. Jasmine's eyes flicked between the photo and her computer screen. What if he wasn't just a bystander? What if your dad was one of the investors Bella was supposed to expose?
It all snapped into place like a lock turning.
The anonymous text, the newspaper clipping, the man in the hoodie, none of it had been random.
Someone wasn't just warning Emily about Ryan.
They were watching her. They had been from the beginning. And now it was clear, it was never just Ryan's past catching up. It was hers too. She and Ryan weren't victims or saviors in each other's lives. They were collateral damage in someone else's vendetta. Fueled by fear and adrenaline, Emily confronted Ryan.
She didn't sugarcoat it.
She showed him the photo, demanded the truth. Ryan looked at the picture and turned pale again, but this time, he wasn't surprised.
I was going to tell you, he said quietly. I found out the day after I met you. I recognized him.
Your dad was on the board of one of the companies Bella was investigating.
He disappeared from the public record right after she did. I came here thinking it was coincidence.
But then I started to think, maybe it wasn't. Everything felt like a lie. Emily backed away, confused, betrayed. So what, you used me? Ryan shook his head, pleading.
No.
I stayed because I wanted to understand who you were.
And then I couldn't walk away. You weren't part of any of it.
You're the only real thing I've had in years.
But Emily couldn't hear that now.
Her world was spinning too fast. She walked out, needing space to breathe, to think.
She didn't know who to trust.
Her father's memory, once sacred, now felt tainted. Ryan's love, once so intoxicating, now felt suspicious. The only person she still fully trusted was Jasmine. So when Jasmine called her the next morning, frantic, saying, You need to come to the diner right now, someone broke in, Emily didn't hesitate. The diner was a wreck, tables overturned, shelves raided. But what made Emily's skin crawl was what wasn't taken. Her locker had been rifled through, but nothing stolen, except the photo.
The one with Bella and her father. Someone had come specifically for that.
And that meant someone knew Emily had it. That's when the twist no one saw coming unraveled. Jasmine, reviewing the security camera footage, froze on a blurry image of the intruder.
He wasn't wearing the hoodie anymore. He wasn't hiding. It was a face they both recognized.
Not from the present, but from an old family photo Emily had almost forgotten. A cousin she hadn't seen since childhood.
Ethan, she whispered.
Jasmine's face went pale. Wait, your cousin Ethan? Wasn't he the one your dad cut off years ago?
The memories came flooding back.
Ethan had worked with her dad briefly, then left the state after a mysterious falling out.
No one talked about him. But now, it all made a twisted kind of sense. Ethan had been the man in the hoodie. He'd been watching her.
He was the one sending messages, planting seeds of doubt, dragging the past back to the surface. And when Emily finally tracked him down, thanks to a GPS hit on the license plate Jasmine had logged weeks ago, what she found wasn't just shocking.
It was heartbreaking.
Ethan was living in a rundown apartment on the outskirts of town, covered in newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, and a giant corkboard filled with strings connecting photos of Bella, Ryan, Emily's father, and yes, Emily herself.
He wasn't just trying to destroy Ryan.
He was trying to protect a truth he believed everyone had ignored. Bella hadn't just disappeared.
She'd been silenced.
And he believed Emily's father had a hand in it. The final confrontation was tense, painful, raw. Ethan wasn't violent, just broken, obsessed with justice he felt no one else wanted. But he had the flash drive. Bella's last grenade. And when Emily finally convinced him to let her see what was on it, the truth hit like a tidal wave. Recordings, emails, bank transfers, evidence that confirmed everything. The real estate fraud, the cover-up, the silence money, even Bella's desperate attempt to escape. But the biggest shock? A voicemail from Bella herself, recorded days before she vanished. "If anything happens to me," she said in a quiet, urgent voice, "don't blame Ryan. He's not perfect, but he loved me. I lied to him. He didn't know." Emily broke down. Everything she'd been afraid of, losing herself in someone else's lies, had been flipped. The man she'd doubted, the man she'd pushed away, had been telling the truth all along. She returned to Ryan that night, flash drive in hand, and told him everything. He didn't cry, but his eyes said more than words ever could. "You believed me," he whispered.
Emily nodded.
"Eventually. And I'm sorry it took so long." In the weeks that followed, they released the drive to an investigative journalist. The story exploded. Bella Owens trended on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. People were outraged, shocked, captivated. True crime channels picked it up, deep diving into the scandal, analyzing every frame of Bella's videos. Emily stayed out of the spotlight, choosing peace over attention.
Ryan did the same.
They didn't need to explain themselves to anyone anymore. They had survived something bigger than either of them had ever imagined. The story ended not with a dramatic declaration of love, but with something quieter. Emily and Ryan sitting on the diner steps at sunrise, sipping coffee, watching the town wake up. "Do you think people can really start over?"
Emily asked.
Ryan smiled. "Only if they stop running." She nodded, leaned her head on his shoulder. "Then let's stop running." And just when the screen faded to black, one last unexpected twist, a final voice memo from Bella, never before heard, surfaced in the digital archives. Her voice calm, resolute. "If you're hearing this, it means I trusted the right people in the end. And maybe love wasn't the lie. Maybe it was the only truth that ever mattered." If this story held your breath till the last second, make sure to like, comment, and share it with someone who loves a real mystery with heart. You never know, the person sitting across from you might be hiding a truth even deeper than love.